The moment it appeared, no announcement, no press release, no warning, everything changed. No teaser video, no dramatic caption, just a quiet website and a ticking clock. At first, only a few fans noticed it. A simple page, a familiar logo, and one undeniable detail that made hearts race across the world. A countdown ending on March 20th. Within minutes, screenshots spread across social media. Army everywhere stopped what they were doing. Because this wasn't speculation. This wasn't a rumor. This wasn't fan theory. This felt official. After years of waiting, after silence filled with solo projects, military service, and promises whispered instead of shouted, BTS had finally done it. They didn't say a word, but they didn't have to. The countdown said everything. For a group that once started with nothing but ambition and belief, this single digital clock carried the weight of history. It wasn't just marking days. It was marking the end of an era of waiting and the beginning of something bigger. Because March 20th isn't just a date, that it's a return. Since their last full group release, the world has changed. K-pop has evolved. New groups have risen, trends have shifted, and the industry has moved at a speed that never slows down. But through it all, BTS never disappeared. They stayed present in memories, in records that still haven't been broken, in stadiums that still echo their names, in fans who never stopped believing they would come back together, stronger. And now, with this website launch, that belief has turned into reality. What makes this moment even more powerful is how quiet it is. No flashy headline, no over-explanation, just confidence. Tabs labeled album and tour sit patiently on the page, locked for now, like doors waiting to be opened. It's a subtle message, but a bold one. BTS isn't teasing chaos. They're teasing structure, a plan, a future already mapped out, and that's when it hits. The realization that this comeback isn't rushed, that it's intentional. Every member has walked their own path over the past few years. Each one grew, explored, tested boundaries, and proved they could stand alone. But BTS was never about standing alone. It was about coming together. This countdown isn't erasing their individual journeys. It's completing them. Halfway through the wait, another emotion settles in, something deeper than excitement. Relief. Because for the first time in a long time, fans don't have to ask when. They don't have to guess if. They don't have to decode vague hints. They just have to wait. And waiting feels different now. March 20th represents more than a comeback album. It represents reunion, trust, a promise kept. BTS once said they would return as 7, and this countdown proves they meant it. Think about that for a moment. In an industry where contracts expire, priorities change, and groups quietly fade away, BTS chose something else. They chose longevity. They chose unity. They chose to come back not because they had to, but because they wanted to. That's the twist. The most powerful part of this comeback isn't the music we haven't heard yet. It's the decision to return together, on their own terms, after proving everything individually. And that's why this moment feels bigger than any teaser trailer ever could. As the countdown continues, anticipation grows, not just for a song, but for a statement. What does BTS sound like now? What stories will they tell after everything they've experienced? How will they redefine themselves once again? No one knows yet. And that's exactly why the world is watching. So if you're here, watching this, counting the days too, you're part of it. You're witnessing the beginning, not the aftermath. The calm before the return that will dominate conversations, charts, stages, and history. March 20th is coming. The clock is ticking, and BTS is officially back on the timeline. That if you don't want to miss any updates as this countdown unfolds, make sure to stay connected. Subscribe, like, and join the conversation, because this comeback isn't just something to watch. There's no track list, no concept photos, no genre hints, just silence. And in that silence, millions of fans are filling the space with memories. They remember the first time BTS promised they would return as 7. They remember the uncertainty, the doubts from outsiders, The headlines questioning whether a full group comeback was even realistic anymore. Time passed. Obligations came first. Life moved forward. Yet here it is, a website that doesn't beg for attention, but commands it. The design itself feels deliberate, clean, minimal, confident, as if BTS is saying, "We don't need noise. You already know who we are." And that confidence wasn't built overnight. Behind this countdown is years of discipline, sacrifice, and patience. Each member stepped away from the spotlight not to disappear, but to prepare, to grow, to return without regrets. This comeback isn't about chasing trends. It's about redefining what longevity looks like in K-pop. And that's when another realization hits. This isn't just a comeback for fans, it's a comeback for BTS themselves. For the first time in years, they're returning not as rookies proving themselves, not as global stars under constant pressure, but as artists who survived the silence and chose to come back together anyway. That choice carries weight. As March 20th draws closer, the countdown becomes more than numbers. Every passing second feels like a heartbeat. Social media fills with theories, emotions, quiet excitement instead of chaos. Fans aren't screaming yet. They're holding their breath because they sense it. Something different is coming. And maybe that's the most powerful move BTS could make. Instead of overwhelming the world, they're letting the world come to them. Letting anticipation build naturally. Letting trust do the work. Then there's the thought no one can ignore. What happens after March 20? An album that reflects everything they've lived through. A tour that reunites them with fans across continents. A moment where 7 voices speak as one again. The website doesn't answer these questions, but it doesn't need to, because the countdown itself is the answer. It says, "We're ready, ready to stand on stage together again, ready to tell new stories, ready to remind the world why BTS was never just a phase." And as the final days approach, one thing becomes clear. This isn't about nostalgia. This is about evolution. BTS isn't coming back to repeat the past. They're coming back to rewrite the future. When March 20th finally arrives, it won't just mark the end of waiting. It will mark the beginning of a new chapter, one shaped by experience, unity, and a promise kept. The clock is still ticking, the silence is still loud, and the return is inevitable.